What if the very thing that made you powerful also made you a prisoner? Welcome to Enchantra, where magic demands a price and freedom is the deadliest rebellion of all. In Enchantra by Kaylie Smith, we're pulled into a vibrant world where magic is a birthright, choices are battles, and love is a dangerous rebellion. This isn't just a fantasy novel. It's a high-stakes, emotional journey of self-discovery, loyalty, betrayal, and destiny. Today, we'll walk through the key characters, an in-depth chapter-by-chapter breakdown, and the emotional themes that make Enchantra unforgettable. Prepare to fall into a story where every choice burns and every victory bleeds. Main character introduction. Meet Aria Valen, a headstrong young enchanter born with forbidden magic. Struggles between her duty to her kingdom and her longing for freedom. Fiercely loyal, reckless, passionate. Meet Cassian Dorne, a brooding former knight of the crown turned rebel leader. Hides a devastating past beneath a mask of stoicism. Protector, strategist, secret keeper. Meet Queen Selene, the ruthless ruler of Valdora. Seeks to harness Aria's power for her own dark designs. Complex, cold, but tragically human underneath. These characters don't just live. They ache, they bleed, they change. Chapter 1. The Calling. The sun sinks behind the marble spires of Valdora as 1,000 voices fill the great square, a sea of silk banners, glittering armor, and hope barely hiding the fear that stains every whispered prayer. Today is the Ascension Ceremony. Today, young citizens are tested not only for magic, but for loyalty. In the crowd, Aria Valen stands still. Her ceremonial robes, deep sapphire embroidered with gold sigils, feel unbearably heavy against her skin. Sweat trickles down her spine, not from heat, but from the pounding fear inside her chest. Around her, other teens shift nervously, clutching each other's hands, sharing jokes to mask the terror. They hope to pass the test quietly. Aria prays not to be noticed at all, because inside her veins, something stirs, something far too wild to be ignored. The crystal sphere looms atop the Ascension dais, a massive artifact, pulsing faintly like a living heart. One by one, youths are called forward. One by one, they press their palms to the crystal, revealing ordinary magic, tiny sparks, flickers of light. The crowd cheers. Parents weep. Life, ordinary and safe, continues. But when the High Mage calls Aria Valen, the square falls silent. Even the breeze seems to hold its breath. Aria walks forward, heart hammering against her ribs like a caged bird. Each step feels heavier than the last. At the dais, the High Mage watches her with curious, narrowed eyes. "Place your hand upon the crystal, child," he says, voice echoing unnaturally through the square. Aria hesitates, just for a second. Then she lifts her hand. Her fingers brush the smooth surface. Nothing. Relief flickers. And then crack. A bolt of light fractures across the crystal, spilling molten energy into the air. A violent wind tears through the square, whipping robes and banners into chaos. Gasps. Shouts. Children clutching mothers. Guards stepping forward with drawn swords. And on Aria's wrist, searing pain. She looks down and sees it, the mark of the lost line, an ancient sigil blazing into her skin in gold fire. The crowd recoils. Some cross themselves. Others scream. On the throne above, Queen Selene rises slowly, her silver crown catching the last dying light of the sun. Her lips curl not in warmth, but in something sharp, predatory. "Bring her to me," Selene commands, her voice slicing through the terror. Aria barely has time to scream as royal guards lunge forward. Her father, dear sweet Willem Valen, show U.S. aide pushes through the crowd to reach her. One of the guards strikes him across the face with a gauntlet fist. He crumples. Aria's heart shatters. Hands clamp around her arms, dragging her backward. She kicks, thrashes, her magic flaring uselessly, bright but untrained, like a wildfire consuming itself. Faces blur past, former friends now staring at her with horror, betrayal, pity. Monster, their eyes seem to say. Witch, enemy. Aria realizes there will be no going home. Not now, not ever. The Ascension ceremony isn't just a rite of passage, it's a weaponized ritual of control. Conform or be crushed. Blend in or be branded. Aria's eruption of magic at this ceremony symbolizes the terrifying cost of authenticity. The very thing that makes her special marks her as dangerous. Freedom in this world begins with being seen and being punished for it. Power was never a blessing in Valdora. It was a sentence. Chapter 2. Captive of the Crown. The cold stone of the palace walls presses against Aria's back as she is shoved into a gilded carriage. Iron shackles bite into her wrists, glowing faintly to suppress her magic. She tries to scream, tries to summon even a flicker of her wild power, but it's like shouting into a void. The enchantments are absolute. The gates of the great square close behind her with a hollow boom. It sounds like a coffin lid ceiling. The journey to the palace is mercifully short, but every second stretches unbearably. Citizens line the cobbled streets, staring, whispering, some spitting curses, others crossing themselves to ward off her curse. Aria's heart breaks 1,000 times over. The Palace of Selene rises ahead. A fortress carved from black marble and bone-white quartz, crowned with towers that seem to claw at the sky. A place not of sanctuary, but of submission. Inside, the world turns to velvet and cold gold. Soft rugs, mirrored halls, perfumed air, every inch a lie meant to cover the rot underneath. Guards march Aria to a tower chamber, luxurious in appearance, but locked tight with enchanted wards. The door shuts with a heavy thud behind her. Freedom gone. Hours pass, maybe days. Time dissolves into hunger, cold, and fear, until finally the door swings open, and Queen Selene enters. She moves like a serpent disguised in silk, grace without mercy. Her hair is woven with obsidian beads, her pale skin almost translucent under the candlelight. When she smiles, it does not reach her eyes. Aria Valen, she purrs, voice a blade wrapped in velvet. You are a miracle. Aria stiffens. Selene circles her slowly, like a lioness inspecting prey. She speaks of destiny, of power, of restoring honor to the lost line through service to the crown. She paints pictures of grandeur, Aria leading armies, sitting beside Selene in triumph, her magic unleashed for the good of Valdora. It would be so easy, Selene whispers, to belong, to be safe, to be loved, if only she kneels. But Aria remembers her father's blood staining the square. She remembers the terror in her mother's screams. She meets Selene's gaze, jaw clenched so tight it aches. And she says nothing. Silence, her first act of rebellion. Selene's smile sharpens into something colder. She leans close enough that Aria can smell the sickly sweet perfume masking rot. You will kneel, Selene murmurs, or you will break. With a flick of her fingers, the queen turns and sweeps from the room. The door slams shut. The lock clicks. Alone once more, Aria slides down against the wall. Her wrists throb where the magic-dampening cuffs bite into her skin. And for the first time since this ceremony, she allows herself to cry. Not because she is weak, but because she knows. They will try to tame her, and she will have to survive long enough to destroy them first. The golden cage is a powerful symbol in Enchantra. It represents how systems of power seduce their prisoners with comfort instead of chains. Selene doesn't just want Aria's loyalty, she wants her soul. But Aria's refusal to speak is a silent revolution. Choosing dignity over false safety, even when her voice trembles, is her first real act of heroism. It's not the shackles on your wrists that imprison you. It's the chains they try to wrap around your heart. Chapter 3. Cassian's Offer. Night falls heavy over Valdora. The stars are smothered by storm clouds, and the palace sits in brooding silence, a black heart pulsing against the velvet sky. Inside her gilded prison, Aria Valen curls on the stone ledge of her window. Cold air seeps through the iron latticework. She hugs her knees to her chest, watching the torches flicker below in the courtyards. Her body aches. Her magic feels like a dying ember under the weight of the dampening cuffs. Her soul? Her soul is a frayed, tattered banner, still flying, but barely. How long, she wonders bitterly, before I become the thing they want me to be? Suddenly, a whisper in the darkness. A flicker. A shadow scaling the outer tower wall with inhuman precision. Aria jolts upright, heart hammering against her ribs. Before she can cry out, the figure presses a gloved finger to his lips. Moonlight catches the stranger's face. Sharp angles, a scar tracing the line of his jaw, dark eyes haunted and burning with something fierce. Cassian Dorne. The name rises unbidden from childhood stories. The knight who disappeared. The traitor. The ghost. He pulls a small device from his cloak, a shimmer stone, and passes it over the enchanted window. The locks click softly. Without hesitation, Cassian slips inside. He is larger than she expected, wrapped in leather and shadow. A sword hilt peeks over his shoulder, but he moves with the silence of a predator. Aria stumbles back. What? Who? She rasps. Cassian speaks, voice low and rough as gravel. I'm not here to hurt you, Aria Valen. I'm here to offer you a choice. Cassian wastes no time. He tells her, in clipped, brutal sentences, the truth Selene never would. The queen does not want to protect Aria's power. She wants to chain it. Use it to conquer the rebel cities to the south. Bind Aria's will to the crystal of binding, an ancient artifact of domination. Those marked with the lost line were once guardians of the people, not traitors, but protectors. It was Selene who twisted the past. Aria stares at him, struggling to breathe through the enormity of it. Her entire life a lie. Cassian's voice softens, almost imperceptibly, when he makes his offer. Escape. Come with him to the Thornwood. Join the rebellion. Fight for something real. But he doesn't lie to her. Freedom will cost blood. The road will be merciless. You'll lose everything you know, Cassian says. But you'll find yourself. He steps back, giving her space. The choice is yours, Aria. Stay here and become their weapon, or run and become your own. Fear claws at her. Doubt whispers in her ear. Could she trust the stranger? Could she trust herself? Outside the window, the city sleeps under a blanket of darkness, but beyond it, somewhere, the Thornwood waits. Wild, free, her gaze locks with Cassian's, and in that instant she sees it. Not a knight, not a ghost. A man who once stood at the edge of a broken world and chose not to fall. Maybe she could too. Aria straightens. She tears off the velvet slippers Selene's mates forced onto her feet. She steps barefoot onto the cold stone floor. And she says one word. When do we leave? Cassian's mouth quirks, almost a smile. Now. Cassian's arrival is the shattering of captivity and the rebirth of choice. He represents the frightening, beautiful possibility that life could be different, but only if Aria is brave enough to reach for it. This chapter reminds us, freedom is not handed down by rulers. It's stolen by those willing to risk everything. Sometimes the first step to freedom is trusting a hand you are taught to fear. Chapter 4. The escape. The palace sleeps, but the walls hum with ancient magic, and the air crackles with the tension of coming war. The moment Aria says now, Cassian moves like a shadow, swift and silent, guiding her through hidden passages that twist deep into the bowels of the palace. They descend crumbling stairwells lit only by the faint glow of Cassian's shimmerstone. The damp, choking air of the tunnels wraps around them. Moss oozes from between the stones. The scent of iron and old magic fills Aria's nose. Every step they take, Aria's heartbeat pounds louder in her ears. Behind them, The heavy silence of the palace hangs like a curse. Ahead, the unknown yawns open like a hungry mouth. Freedom smells like rotten fear, Aria thinks bitterly. But I'll take it. Halfway through the labyrinth of tunnels, they hear it. Boots, shouts. Selene's blood guard, elite soldiers bound by dark magic, are already hunting them. Cassian curses under his breath. They break into a run. The tunnel narrows, forcing them into a single line. Cassian draws his sword, blackened steel that hums with enchantments. Aria, still shackled by magic-dampening cuffs, can do nothing but follow, heart hammering. The bloodguard block the exit ahead, faceless behind black helms, cruel smiles gleaming. Cassian doesn't hesitate. Steel meets steel. The clash of blades echoes off stone, deafening. Cassian fights like a demon born of rage and regret, moving with terrifying precision. But numbers press in. One guard grabs Aria, yanking her backward. Panic explodes inside her, raw and primal. Without thinking, she screams. And something ancient answers. The cuffs shatter in a blast of light. Energy erupts from Aria's hands, hurling her attacker against the tunnel wall with a sickening crunch. The magic burns through her, wild and hungry. Cassian glances back, awe flickering in his battle-hardened eyes. Good, he growls. Use it. Together they fight their way through. Not with perfect grace, but with desperate fury. When the last guard falls, Aria stands trembling, hands smoking, breath ragged. Power thrums under her skin, terrifying and exhilarating. Cassian places a steadying hand on her shoulder. We're not safe yet. They reach the ancient aqueduct, a tunnel flooded ankle-deep with brackish water that leads to the forest beyond the city walls. It's narrow, crumbling, dangerous. Behind them, horns sound, a call to arms. The entire palace is waking. Cassian turns to Aria, face grim. Once we're in the Thornwood, they can't track us easily, but we have to reach it alive. Aria nods, teeth gritted. They plunge into the tunnel, wading through freezing water, slipping over stones slick with algae. Every breath feels like a prayer, every heartbeat like a drum of defiance. They emerge outside the palace walls, gasping under the open sky. Ahead, the Thornwood looms, a jagged line of black trees, wild and unbroken. Behind them, the city shouts in chaos. Freedom is so close she can taste it. Bitter, wild, beautiful. Cassian grabs her hand, not as a knight to a princess, but as one soul anchoring another. Run. And they do, into the dark, into the unknown, into whatever future they can forge with blood and magic and sheer stubborn hope. This escape isn't just about fleeing a place, it's about shedding the chains of fear for the first time. The tunnel is rebirth. The Thornwood is the unknown future. Dangerous but real. Cassian and Aria are no longer stranger and fugitive. They are comrades, bound by choice, not by fate. Freedom is not a doorway you walk through. It's a war you survive. One step, one breath, one heartbeat at a time. Chapter 5, Sanctuary of Thorns. The Thornwood swallows them whole. Ancient trees tower like silent sentinels overhead, their twisted branches woven so tightly they strangle the starlight. The air smells of damp earth, moss, and something older, the whisper of forgotten magic. Aria stumbles over roots slick with dew, every muscle aching, lungs burning from the flight. But Cassian presses forward with relentless purpose, a shadow at her side. Behind them, the world of marble and chains crumbles into a fading nightmare. Ahead lies the sanctuary, if it even exists. After what feels like endless hours, they reach a clearing hidden deep within the forest. Flickering lanterns, strung between the trees, cast pools of golden light on worn paths. Tents stitched from salvaged silks flutter like colorful ghosts. A community hums quietly, soldiers sharpening blades, healers tending to the wounded, children darting between cooking fires. This is not a kingdom. It is survival. Raw, broken, alive. Cassian leads Aria toward the heart of the sanctuary, a large pavilion draped in banners, marked with ancient glyphs of protection. Every eye follows them. Suspicion simmers in the glances cast Aria's way, the same way villagers glance at a storm gathering on the horizon. She wraps her arms around herself instinctively. The urge to shrink, to disappear, to apologize, claws at her throat. But she stands taller. She must. Inside the pavilion, a council waits. Mélisse, the rebel seer, her dark hair braided with feathers, eyes clouded by visions she cannot always control. Her gaze cuts through Aria like a blade dipped in sorrow. Run, the rebel healer, arms crossed, face carved from stone. Distrust radiates from him in waves. And others, warriors, mages, survivors, each carrying scars Aria cannot yet imagine. Cassian introduces her without ceremony. Aria Valen, marked of the lost line, free by her own choice. Murmurs ripple through the council. Some faces tighten with fear, others with something fiercer, hope or desperation. Rin steps forward, voice hard as iron. A girl raised by the crown? Who lived under Selene's protection? And we're to believe she's one of us. Aria flinches, but Cassian doesn't speak for her. She lifts her chin and steps forward. Her voice, when it comes, is hoarse but USIing. I didn't choose my blood. I didn't choose my past. But I will choose my future. Silence. Then Mélisse, voice soft but resonant. The forest does not ask where the seed was planted, only whether it will grow. The council murmur to Essian, less judgment, more curiosity. Cassian pulls her aside after the meeting. He doesn't sugarcoat it. You're not safe here, not yet. Trust must be earned. Aria nods grimly. For the first time in days, the weight on her chest eases. Not because she is safe, because she is seen, not as a weapon, not as a prisoner, but as a person who must prove herself, and who will. The sanctuary of thorns mirrors Aria herself, damaged, guarded, and beautiful precisely because it has survived what tried to destroy it. This chapter is not about being welcomed. It's about being given the chance to belong, a gift rarer and more precious than blind acceptance. Home is not where you are born. It's where you choose to stand even when your hands still shake. Chapter 6. The Cost of Magic. Dawn in the sanctuary is not gentle. The first rays of light pierce the thornwood like sharpened blades. Mist coils through the trees. The rebels rise not with sleepy yawns, but with grim purpose, sharpening swords, whispering prayers, binding wounds not yet healed. This is no fairy tale camp. This is a war-torn family clinging to scraps of hope. And now Aria must prove she deserves to stand among them. Cassian leads her to a clearing at the forest's edge, the ground scorched from countless battles between magic and will. Here, under the watchful eyes of Mélisse and Ren, Aria begins her training. She's never had a teacher before, only fear and instinct. Magic has always burst from her in desperate explosions. Now, Cassian demands control. Channel it, he says, tossing her a weathered stone carved with runes. Not with anger, with intent. Aria stares at the stone. The magic stirs inside her chest, reluctant and wild. Sweat beads on her forehead. She concentrates. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then a flicker. The stone shudders. A crack slithers across its surface. Aria sags in relief until pain lances through her temples, sharp and blinding. She collapses to her knees, gasping. Her mind reels flashes of her childhood home, her father's laugh, her mother's lullabies, slipping away like smoke. Panic grips her. No, I didn't mean. Cassian kneels beside her, face grim but not unkind. Magic drawn from the blood takes something in return, he says quietly. Strength, memory, sometimes pieces of yourself. Aria's hands tremble. Every time she touches her gift, she risks losing pieces of who she is. Is it worth it? Days blur into grueling repetition. Lift the stone, Shatter the branch. Then the water. Each success feels like a small miracle, and each one costs her more. Headaches, blackouts, strange gaps in her memory, the name of a childhood pet, the taste of her mother's stew. Gone. The forest, once whispering with possibilities, now seems to murmur warnings. One night, after a particularly brutal session, Aria stumbles into a clearing alone. She falls to her knees, clutching the damp earth, sobbing. Cassian finds her there, silent as the night. He doesn't speak, doesn't offer platitudes. He simply sits beside her, a silent sentinel. When the storm inside her finally ebbs, Aria whispers, broken. If I lose myself, what's the point of winning? Cassian's voice is low, raw. The point is to fight anyway, to choose who you become. Every damn day. Magic in Enchantra is not a gift without price. It mirrors trauma, the way strength often grows from deep scars. Aria's struggle isn't just about mastering power, it's about refusing to let survival strip away her humanity. Each memory lost is a battle scar. Each act of will is an act of rebellion against becoming the monster Selene would have forged. True strength is not what you hold on to. It's what you are willing to lose and still rise. Chapter 7. Secrets Revealed. The sanctuary slumbers under a veil of mist. Lanterns flicker low. The thornwood sighs and murmurs, restless even in sleep. But inside the council tent, the air is charged. Heavy. Waiting, because tonight, truths long buried claw their way to the surface. Melis, the rebel seer, sits before the council's fire, her fingers twitching over the runes scattered before her. Smoke curls into strange shapes. Visions flicker in her clouded eyes, too fast, too chaotic to grasp fully. But some stories do not need magic to be told. Cassian stands beside Aria, jaw tight, fists clenched. He has fought armies, survived betrayal, faced death. But nothing terrifies him like the truth he must speak now. Cassian begins. Long ago, the enchanters of the lost line were guardians, defenders of the innocent, sworn protectors of Valdora. But Queen Selene, then a rising noble, clever and ruthless, feared the power they held. She conspired with dark magics to orchestrate their downfall. Using lies, forbidden spells, and blood betrayals, she turned the people against the lost line, branding them as traitors and threats to peace. Those she could not control, she executed. Those she could not kill, she erased from history. Aria's family, her ancestors, fought to save the kingdom. They were betrayed by the very throne they sought to protect. Cassian's voice grows rough, breaking. He confesses what he has carried like a blade in his gut. I was one of Selene's favored knights. I hunted those like you, Aria. I believed the lies. I served blindly, until I saw what she truly was. Until it was too late to save the ones I should have protected. A silence falls so deep even the fire seems to shrink. Aria feels the ground tilt under her feet. Her hands clench into fists, nails biting into her palms. Betrayal, anger, grief, but also a terrible, aching understanding. Cassian did not flee Selene out of cowardice. He fled because he could no longer live with what he had become. For a long moment, Aria says nothing. The part of her still wounded, still raw, wants to rage at him, to scream that she cannot trust a man who once served her enemies. But another part, the part forged through pain, not destroyed by it, sees the truth. Cassian carries his guilt like a sword he cannot sheath. He has already paid a price she would not wish on anyone. And she? She is no longer the girl who believed in black and white truths. Softly, so softly Cassian almost doesn't hear, Aria whispers, "We are all broken by this kingdom. What matters is what we choose to build from the ruins." Cassian bows his head, not in shame, but in silent gratitude. This chapter isn't just about revealing history. It's about shattering old loyalties and forging new ones. Aria's choice to see Cassian's humanity rather than his past sins reflects a deeper truth. Healing is not forgetting pain. It's refusing to let it turn you into the very thing you hate. Forgiveness here is not weakness. It's radical rebellion against the cycle of violence Selene tried to trap them all inside. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is see the monster inside someone else and still find the light. Chapter 8. A Heart Divided. The thornwood breathes mist and moonlight. Aria stands alone at the sanctuary's outer edge, where the wild forest rises thick and tangled, a wall of living memory and waiting danger. She clutches a worn scrap of parchment in her shaking hands. Cassian found it, smuggled from the palace. A coded message. Her younger brother, Theo, is alive. Alive, but imprisoned within Selene's dungeons. The rebel council debates the news long into the night. Some argue it's a trap. Others say Theo is too great a risk to rescue, a distraction from the coming war. Cassian, grim and silent, stands apart. He knows the weight of impossible choices. He knows what Aria is about to face. And Aria? She burns. Loyalty to the rebels demands she stay. Loyalty to her family demands she fight. How do you choose between your new life and the blood that made you? After the council disperses, Aria storms into the forest, anger, grief, and helplessness crashing over her like a tide. Cassian follows, silent as a ghost. When he finds her, she is pacing, fists clenched, tears blurring her vision. "Tell me not to go," she snarls at him. "Tell me to abandon him, to stay here, to be strong." Cassian's eyes, so dark, so full of things unsaid, lock with hers. "I can't," he says, voice hoarse. Because strength isn't in choosing easy loyalties. It's in standing for the people who need you, even when it breaks you. Silence crackles between them, charged and aching. And then, slowly, Aria steps closer, drawn not by reason, but by something older. Something inevitable. Cassian reaches for her at the same moment she lifts her hands to his face. Their kiss is not gentle. It is fierce, raw, desperate. It tastes the fear and hope of all the things they cannot say aloud. When they break apart, the world feels different, sharper, more dangerous. Because now Aria knows. Love is not a shelter. It's another battlefield. Cassian presses his forehead against hers. "Whatever you choose, Aria," he whispers, "you won't face it alone." But Aria knows deep down that the path ahead will be hers to walk. Cassian can fight beside her. He cannot choose for her. As dawn stains the sky blood red, Aria makes her decision. She will not abandon Theo. She cannot. Even if it means risking the fragile trust she has built here. Even if it means facing Selene once more. Because freedom is not just for herself. It must be for those she loves, or it is nothing at all. This chapter tears at the heart of Enchantra's core theme. Real love is not about possession. It's about sacrifice. Aria's struggle between duty and love mirrors the larger war between power and mercy. Choosing family, even at personal cost, proves Aria is not just powerful. She is still human. True loyalty is not measured by who stands with you in victory, but by who you refuse to leave behind in darkness. Chapter 9. The Reckoning. The thornwood seems to hold its breath. Campfires crackle low. Rebels sharpen blades, mend armor, whisper prayers to gods who long ago stopped listening. Because today, a choice will be made that could break everything they've built. Cassian, Maelys, Ren, and the rebel council sit around the largest fire, the light throwing their faces into sharp relief, hollow cheeks, eyes too old for their years. Aria stands before them, spine straight, hands fisted at her sides. She doesn't tremble. Not anymore. She lays out her plan. She will return to Selene. She will pose as a willing servant. She will feed the queen false intelligence. And at the right moment, she will destroy Selene's greatest weapon, the crystal of binding. It's madness. It's suicide. But it's the only way to rescue Theo and to shatter Selene's hold on Valdora forever. Ren slams his fist on the table. It's too risky. Selene will smell your betrayal before you even set foot in her court. Melis, voice distant as if already half caught in vision, says, "The storm must be met where it brews, or we are only waiting to drown." Cassian says nothing. He watches Aria with a storm in his eyes. Fear, pride, fury, all warring silently. He wants to forbid her, to shield her, but he knows he cannot. To cage her now would make him no better than Selene. Later, in the dark, Cassian finds Aria alone at the sanctuary's edge. The trees murmur around them, whispering of choices and consequences. Cassian's jaw tightens. His hands tremble at his sides. "I won't ask you to stay," he says, voice rough. "I know what you have to do, but don't you dare forget who you are in that place." Aria steps close. Their foreheads touch, a silent, desperate goodbye. "I'll remember," she promises. "I'll remember it for both of us. No grand declarations. No promises of forever. Only this. A heart given freely. A faith that even in betrayal, love can endure." At first light, Aria mounts a stolen steed. Dressed in fine velvet, wrists hidden beneath golden cuffs that glint with enchantments, she looks every inch the crown's prized weapon. Guards escort her through secret paths back to Selene's court. From a distance, Cassian watches her ride away. He doesn't call out. He doesn't run after her. He lets her go, because real love is not chains. It's wings. Aria's decision to return to her prison willingly is the ultimate act of courage. True rebellion is not always fought with swords. Sometimes it's fought with unbreakable spirit even when surrounded by enemies. Cassian's letting her go is equally powerful. Proof that love without control is the purest kind of love. Some battles are not won with strength, but with the quiet, terrible power of choosing who you are, even in the heart of the enemy's darkness. Chapter 10. The Choice. The palace of Valdora rises before her. A cold monolith of marble and shadow, glittering like a blade under the noon sun. It hasn't changed, but Aria has. She rides through the gates flanked by Selene's guards, head held high, heart hammering a furious rhythm against her ribs. "Remember who you are," Cassian had said, "not what they make you." She repeats it like a prayer, because soon everything will burn. The throne room is a theater of lies. Nobles in jeweled robes murmur praises. Blood mages in black and crimson watch her with predatory smiles. Selene lounges on her throne like a cat who has caught a trembling bird between her claws. Aria approaches, every step measured, every breath a battle. She meals a show. A lie. Selene rises, descending the marble steps with predatory grace. She sayu s Aia's chin in one gloved hand, tilting her face up for all to see. "My beautiful weapon," Selene croons. "My harbinger of conquest." Applause ripples through the court, hollow as a grave. Inside Aria, rage coils like a serpent. But she waits. She must. Because today is not about vengeance. Today is about liberation. That night, under a blood-red moon, Selene leads a procession to the Hall of Binding. A cathedral of ancient stone, walls etched with spells older than memory. At its center rests the crystal of binding, a jagged shard of starlight, a prison for will and soul. If Selene completes the binding, Aria's magic and her mind will belong to the crown forever, chains more cruel than any iron. Selene chants. The crystal hums. The spell pulls at Aria's bones, her blood, her very breath. Pain arcs through her body, searing, endless. Memories flash before her eyes. Her father's laugh, Theo's smile, Cassian's broken, steadfast eyes. Her freedom, her fire. They will not take this from her. Not again. Not ever. With a scream torn from the depths of her soul, Aria rips her magic free, not away from Selene, into the crystal, a final, Devastating surge. The crystal shatters in a blaze of silver fire, its death cry echoing through the cathedral. The binding spell collapses. Selene staggers back, fury twisting her beautiful face into something monstrous. "You stupid, foolish girl," she hisses. "You could have ruled beside me." Aria stands tall, magic bleeding from her in shimmering waves, burning away the lies, the chains, the fear. Her voice cuts through the smoke. "I was never yours to command." Chaos erupts. The rebels Cassian, Rin, Mealis had been waiting for the signal. They storm the palace gates. Blades clash. Magic roars. Selene, weakened but still deadly, hurls curses that twist the air itself. Aria faces her not with raw magic, but with choice. She refuses to kill Selene in rage. She denies Selene the satisfaction of turning her into a mirror of herself. Instead, she binds Selene's powers with a final spell woven not from anger, but from mercy. Selene collapses, defeated, not slain, stripped of her cruelty, left to face her own emptiness. When the dust settles, Aria falls to her knees. Her magic, once a raging river, is now a quiet stream. Not gone, changed. She gave up the power to bend the world to her will and gained something greater. Her soul, her choice, her future. Cassian rushes to her side. There are no grand speeches, only a hand offered, only two broken, bleeding people choosing again and again to keep fighting, together. Aria's final act, refusing to kill Selene, refusing to lose herself to vengeance, completes her transformation. Victory isn't domination. It's mercy. It's remembering that power means nothing if it costs your humanity. In shattering the crystal, Aria also shatters the cycle of fear and hatred that ruled her world. The truest power is not in wielding magic. It's in choosing, even when you could destroy, to instead create. Epilogue. After the storm, the throne room lies in ruins. Moonlight spills through shattered windows, gilding the broken stones with silver. The banners of Selene, the blood-red sigils of fear, lie torn and trampled underfoot. Valdora breathes again, not in triumph, but in aching, painful hope. Aria stands atop the palace battlements, the thornwood stretching to the horizon beyond the city walls. Her hands bear scars that no healing spell can erase. Her magic, once a raging tempest, is now a steady ember, warm, calm, alive. She thought victory would feel like fireworks, like songs. Instead, it feels like the soft, trembling breath of someone who almost drowned and has just broken the surface. Alive, changed, free. The rebels move through the palace not as conquerors, but as healers, tearing down symbols of cruelty, releasing prisoners long forgotten in dungeons, opening the gates to the people who once trembled before them. For the first time in a generation, Valdora's future will not be written by fear, but it will not be easy. Freedom is messy, painful, slow. Aria knows that better than anyone now. Theo, battered but alive, stumbles from the infirmary into her arms. Their hug is silent, desperate and healing all at once. Family, not by blood alone, but by the battles fought for each other. Cassian watches from a distance, a rare, unguarded smile breaking over his worn face. Later, he will take Aria's hand in the gardens where thorns once grew unchecked, and they will not promise forever. They will promise today and tomorrow, and that will be enough. One night, Aria sits alone beneath the ancient oak at the heart of the palace gardens, the same tree her ancestors once planted in secret defiance. She runs her fingers over the worn bark and whispers, "I am not what they tried to make me. I am not their weapon. I am not their queen. I am Aria Valen, and I am free." The forest answers with a whisper of its own, not words, just the sound of life continuing, of hope, fragile but stubborn, blooming again. The epilogue reminds us that the real work begins after the war ends. Victory isn't the final scene. It's the slow, stubborn act of rebuilding, of choosing hope again and again, even when it would be easier to surrender to bitterness. Aria's story isn't about triumph without cost. It's about choosing love, mercy, and selfhood even after being broken. It's about rising, not untouched, but unbowed. The future is not a gift. It is a garden, and it must be grown with scarred hands and stubborn hope. If Enchantra moved you, if it sparked something raw and aching and alive, share this story. Read Enchantra by Kaylie Smith. Feel it, bleed with it, heal with it, and subscribe to Some and Sense for more book journeys that burn bright, break deep, and rebuild hope. Because in the end, the truest magic is choosing who you become. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more book deep dives, fantasy journeys, and emotional roller coasters. Want to read the whole book? Or love stories like this? You'll find thousands more at www.e-booksunlimited.com, over 700,000 ebooks across 500 genres, packed with titles from your favorite top authors. Check out the link below for all the details.